Hi, I am back, and I'm still talking about the natural disasters and the places they say it's a curse. Natural disasters a curse. Why natural resources are a curse in developing countries and how to fix it. I got it from the Atlantic. So it's a website, theatlantic.com. You can subscribe to it. I am going to include the link in the description box so you can check it out. But they in this article they talk about it like it's an actual curse. Let me see. Among the many frustrations in development, perhaps none looms larger than the curse. Resource curse. Perversely, the worst development outcomes measured in poverty, inequality, and deprivation are often found in those countries with the greatest natural resource endowments. Rather than contributing to freedom, broadly shared growth, and social peace, rich deposits of oils and minerals have often brought tyranny, misery, and insecurity to those nations. Fortunately, as my colleague Tara Lawson's Reamer points out in a new CFR memo, all is not lost. There are concrete steps that the international community can take to help break this curse. First, a few facts. The correlation between energy dependence and, this word, right? Authoritarianism. Authoritarianism is clear. That's someone that's taking authority. Authority, they're probably just making demands and not sure how things really are. There are 23 countries in the world that derive at least 60% of their exports from oil and gas, and not a single one is a real democracy, observes Larry Diamond of Stanford University. There are numerous hypotheses to account for this correlation. So there's a lot of science to back up the theory. So it's not just talk about these countries, the 60%. There's 23 countries in the world. And then there's documents to back it up. So there is a science to it. It's not just talk. Weak links. They talk about a book here. It's called Weak Links, Fragile States, Global Threats, and International Security. Most obviously, easy resource revenues eliminate a crucial link of accountability between government and citizens by reducing incentives to tax other productive activity and use the revenue to deliver social services efficiently. The same revenues also generate staggering wealth that facilitates corruption and patronage networks. Together, they consolidate the power of enriched elites and regime supporters, sharpening income inequality and stifling political reform. The history of the oil rich Arab Middle East has long been a case in point, with Saudi Arabia being Exhibit A. So it's like because of the way the world is set up, or the way the country is set up politically, they lack the link of accountability between the government and the citizens, reducing incentives to tax other productive actively, use the revenues to deliver social services effectively. The same revenues also generate staggering wealth that facilitates corruption. So it's like corruption is normal, like everyone is corrupt because the way it is so unfair. The same revenues also generate staggering wealth, generates facilitates corruptions and patronage networks. Together they consolidate the power of the enriched elites. So it's like only elites, like the people with money and power. Sharpening income inequality, that means things are not equal, and stifling political reform. And it's normal because it's not equal. Natural resource revenues have also been linked to slow economic growth rates, inequality, and poverty. One culprit may be the so-called Dutch disease, whereby resources revenues raise a country's exchange rate, hurting competitiveness in the non-resource sectors. Other factors may include the volatility associated with commodity prices, which can have especially negative impacts on the weak state economies, and the underdevelopment of agricultural and manufacturing sectors during boom periods in resource based economies. So you see how they just use all these big words there. They raise a country's exchange rate. So money is different, hurting competitiveness in non resource sectors. So they're very competitive. Other factors may include the volatility associated with commodity prices. People fight. It can get violent at times because it has negative, which can have especially negative impacts on weak state economies, and the underdevelopment of agricultural and manufacturing sectors. So it's like things are just not proper, like in a proper form. It's just they're just out there. Everybody's trying to make money, and it's always the elites. Even oil abundance produces high growth. It often benefits only a few corrupt elites rather than translating into higher living standards for most of the population. Oil rich Angola is a case in point. Despite having one of the world's highest growth rates from 2005 through 2010, averaging some 17% annually, its score on the Human Development Index remains a miserable 0.49, and its infant mortality rate was lower than the sub-Saharan African average. Finally, the presence of oil and gas resources within developing countries exacerbates the risk of violent conflict. The list of civil conflicts, for at least in part for control of oil and gas resources, is long. A partial list would include Nigeria, Angola, Burma, Papua New Guinea, Bougainville, Chad, Pakistan, Balochistan, and of course Sudan. Econometric studies confirm that the risk of civil war greatly increases within countries dependent on the export of primary commodities, particularly fossil fuels. At least three factors could explain this correlation. First, the prospect of resource rents may be an incentive to rebel or secede. Second, from wealth from resources may enable rebel groups to finance their operations. Third, the high levels of corruption, extortion, and poor governance that accompany resource wealth often generate grievances leading to rebellion. So it's like this happens all over the world. And then this article, it talks about it. It talks about it in parts of the world that have natural resources, that have oil, that have fuel, that have ways to produce an income, but and then it doesn't help the country. The country stays poor while only certain people get to benefit from the resources. And it's like that in many countries. It's not just your country, it's many countries that are still like this, that they still operate like this. Given the story picture, can anything be done? In fact, the past decade has seen a raft of international initiatives designed to combat corruption and improve governance in resource nations. The Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, works to improve revenue management in some 30 rich resource countries. The Open Government Partnership, co-chaired by the United States and Brazil, aims to fight corruption by securing concrete national action plans to fight corruption from governments that publish what you pay and publish. What you lend campaigns call on the transnational corporations and banks to publicize their payments and loans to local authorities. But it's like this is talking about other countries, but then there's still corruption here in the USA. Like nobody's perfect. Like every country is a little fucked up. Like the USA is not good. There's still corruption. There's criminal, what is it? We still have drug lords here. Like people are still connected to that. So and then in nothing, the politicians are dirty. The government is corrupt. Like they don't really help the people. I'm reading this and it's talking about other countries, but I'm like, the US is no better. And then they're trying to tell other countries how to live a better life, and the United States is just as fucked up. I shouldn't even talk like that. It aims government the Open Government Partnership, co-chaired by the United States and Brazil, aims to fight corruption by securing concrete national action plans to fight corruption from governments. That's why I started talking, because I'm like, corruption from government, and then the United States is like one of the worst. The Publish What You Pay and Publish What You Lend campaigns call on transnational corporations and banks to publicize their payments and loans to local authorities. So now they want businesses and corporations to publish their loans, their bank statements. That's crazy. Like, what? Oh my God. Like, I think this article is making me kind of angry, because it's like, how you going to tell other people, and then it's like they're cursed to be in poverty, and then it's like the country acts a certain way, and then it's a lot of countries that are the same kind of way. Like you think it's just one country. Like no, it's a lot of countries that are living the same kind of way, same mentality, and it operates the same. It's corrupt. Politics is dirty. Politics has always been dirty. I'm gonna just end it here. I'm gonna include the link in the description box. It's from The Atlantic. So, and then I was looking into this article. It was to talk about the curses. The natural resources are a curse on developing countries and how to fix it. And then it started talking about some other stuff, and then other countries are trying to tell a country how to do better in their country, and the main country is just as fucked up as all the other countries. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to read this any further. You can read it if you want to, though. So the link will be in the description box, and you can check it out. Just tap on the link. It's going to take you straight into theatlantic.com. This is an international archive written April 30th of 2012. Why natural resources are a curse on developing countries and how to fix it. Lead with love. Lead with love. Stay positive and vibe high. If you want to read the article or check out the article for yourself, you just tap on the description box. I stopped reading after I got to see like how it was going. I was like, oh no, you know what, leave with love, stay positive and vibe high. I'll look for something else to talk about. Bye.